My older brother betrayed me with my girlfriend in my bed. My father kicked him out forever. But 11 years later, he came back demanding his inheritance. He never expected what I did. I'm 31 years old. I work in real estate, and I need to get this story off my chest because what happened when I was 17 basically destroyed my family and, honestly, still affects me to this day. The thing is, my older brother Justin betrayed my trust in a way I never imagined possible, and the consequences of that extended for years, even after my father died. I guess I should start at the beginning, when it was just the three of us: my dad, Christopher, Justin, and me, Gabriel. My mom died when I was like 5 years old. I don't remember much about her, to be honest, but what I do remember perfectly is that my dad became both father and mother at the same time. Justin was 13 when that happened, and from that moment on, my dad raised us alone, without anyone's help. He worked in construction, long shifts, sometimes doubles, but he was always there for us. Always. My dad was one of those old school men, you know, the kind who valued loyalty and your word above anything else. He told us all the time that family was the most important thing, that we could trust each other no matter what, that brothers look out for each other. Ironic, right? Justin and I were close when I was a kid, I guess. He taught me how to ride a bike. He helped me with homework sometimes. Those typical older brother things. But when he hit his teens, he kind of distanced himself a bit, started going out more with his friends, doing his own thing. Normal, I guess. By the time I was 17, Justin was already 25 and still living at home. He had started and dropped out of college a couple of times, worked here and there, but nothing stable, like he couldn't find his path. My dad never said anything to him directly, but I knew he was worried, that he wanted Justin to settle down, to mature. I was in my senior year of high school then. Ran on the track team. Was pretty good, actually. Had some scholarship options for college. And I was dating Melissa, my first serious girlfriend. We'd been together for like 8 months, and I was completely in love. Like that kind of intense teenage love where you think you're going to be with that person forever. She was pretty, funny, and my friends told me I was lucky. My dad met her a couple of times, seemed like he liked her. Justin met her too. Obviously, because we lived in the same house. Now that I think about it, I should have noticed something. There were signs, little weird things that I ignored at the time, but looking back were obvious. At like this one day I came home and Melissa was there, said she'd come to wait for me, but I didn't know she was coming. She was in the living room with Justin watching TV, and when I walked in, they both got kind of nervous. Or that time I saw a message on Melissa's phone. I only caught a glimpse of a name that said Jay, and when I asked her who it was, she got super defensive and said it was a friend from work. Little things like that I didn't think much about at the time because, who? Suspects their older brother is doing something with their girlfriend? I remember it perfectly because it was the day I normally had track practice until 5, but that day the coach canceled early because he had a family emergency or something. I got home around 3:30, which was weird for me. I normally got home around 6. My dad's truck wasn't there. He was still at work. Justin's car was there, a beat-up blue 2010 Honda Civic. I went in through the front door, left my backpack at the entrance like always, and yelled that I was home. No one answered. I went upstairs to go to my room to change, and when I was getting to the hallway, I heard something. Weird noises coming from my bedroom. My door was closed, which was strange because I never closed my door. I got closer and the noises became clearer. And at that moment, my brain started processing what I was hearing. I opened the door, didn't even knock, just pushed it open, and there they were, Justin and Melissa, in my bed. In my fucking bed. I don't know how long I stood there in the doorway. It was probably only a few seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Melissa screamed and covered herself with my sheets that were now, contaminated with this shit. Justin got up quickly, started putting on his pants, and all he kept saying was, "Wait, Gabriel, let me explain." Wait. But I couldn't move, couldn't speak. Felt like someone had hit me in the stomach with a baseball bat. My whole body was shaking. I finally found my voice and all I could say was, "Get out of my room. Get out of my fucking room now." Justin tried to come toward me. kept saying, "Brother, please listen to me," but I backed away. I didn't want him to touch me, didn't even want to look at him. Melissa was crying, trying to get dressed, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," over and over, like that was going to change anything. I told her to leave, to get the hell out of my house, and she ran out with her clothes half on. Justin just stood there, looking at me, and I could see on his face that he knew he'd fucked up big time, but there was also like defiance in his eyes, you know? Like part of him thought it wasn't that big a deal. He told me, "Gabriel, look, I know this looks bad, but it's not what you think." "What do you mean it's not what I think?" Was he really going to try to deny it when I literally just caught them? I asked him how long this had been going on, and at first he didn't want to tell me, but he finally admitted they'd been seeing each other behind my back for like 3 months. 3 months. While I was dating her. While I was telling her I loved her. While we were making plans to go to prom together. She was fucking my brother. And he, my older brother who was supposed to look out for me, was betraying me in the worst possible way. I told him to leave, to get out of my room, and when he left, I locked the door and let myself fall to the floor. I didn't cry immediately. First, I was just in shock, processing what had just happened. Then came the rage, a rage like I'd never felt in my life. I wanted to break things. I wanted to punch walls. I wanted to disappear. Eventually, the crying came, and I cried like I hadn't cried since I was a little kid. My dad got home around 6:30. I heard his truck pull up, heard the door open, heard his voice calling for me. Justin must have told him I was in my room because I heard him come straight upstairs. He knocked on my door, asked if I was okay. His voice sounded worried. I opened the door, and I think my face said it all because he immediately asked what happened. "Who did something to you?" And I told him. I told him everything. I watched his expression change, saw the disbelief, then the rage, then something that looked like deep pain. My dad went downstairs and I followed him. Justin was in the living room, sitting on the couch with his head in his hands. When he heard my dad coming down, he looked up, and for a second, I saw real fear in his eyes. My father, Christopher, was a big man, construction worker his whole life, huge hands, deep voice. When he was calm, he was the kindest guy in the world. But when he got angry, when he really got angry, he was scary. And in that moment, he was beyond angry. He asked Justin if it was true. Justin tried to minimize it at first, said it was complicated, that these things happen, that it wasn't that big a deal. Mistake. Big mistake. My dad exploded. He yelled like I'd never heard him yell, saying, "How could you do this to your brother? How could you betray your family like this? I raised you better than this. I taught you about loyalty, about respect." Justin tried to defend himself, said that Melissa and I weren't that serious anyway, that I was just a kid, that I didn't understand, that made things worse. My dad told him, "You have 1 hour to pack your things and get out of this house. I don't want to see you again." Justin looked at him in disbelief, like he couldn't believe he was saying that. He tried to argue, said, "Dad, you can't be serious." But my father just repeated 1 hour, and I'm not talking seriously. "Justin, I'm completely serious. Get out of my house." I saw something break in Justin's face at that moment, but honestly, I didn't feel sorry for him. Not in that moment. Justin went up to his room, and for the next hour we could hear him moving around upstairs, dragging things, slamming drawers hard. My dad and I stayed in the living room without talking much. At some point, my dad put his hand on my shoulder and told me, "I'm sorry, son. I'm sorry your brother did this to you." And that almost made me cry again, but I held it back. Around 50 minutes later, Justin came down with 2 large suitcases and some boxes. He walked through the living room, looked at both of us, and said, "This is ridiculous. Someday you're going to regret this." My dad didn't respond, just pointed at the door, and Justin left. We didn't hear from him for weeks. I blocked Melissa everywhere, never talked to her again, never wanted to know about her. Some of my friends asked me what happened. I told them we broke up but didn't go into details. I finished high school, got my scholarship to college, and went to study business administration at a school like 2 hours from home. During all that time, Justin didn't call, didn't write, nothing. It was like he had disappeared. Years went by. I graduated from college, Got a job in real estate, started building my life. My dad and I stayed close. I visited him often. We talked on the phone at least twice a week. Sometimes he'd ask about Justin, if I knew anything about him, and my dad always said the same thing. No, son. And honestly, I don't care anymore. But I knew he did care. That it hurt him. How could it not hurt that his oldest son had just left like that? Living in another city, that he was working in sales or something. That apparently he was doing okay, but he never tried to contact us directly. Then, when I was 28 and Justin was 36, my dad got sick. It started with a cough that wouldn't go away. Then he lost weight fast. And when he finally went to the doctor, after I pressured him for months, they diagnosed him with stage 4 lung cancer. The doctors said he probably had a year at most, maybe less. It was devastating. Completely devastating. My dad had been a smoker in his youth, but he'd quit like 20 years ago. And still this happened to him. I asked him if he wanted me to contact Justin to tell him. My dad thought for a long time and finally said, yes, he has a right to know. He's my son after all. I got Justin's number through my Aunt Angela and called him. It was a strange, awkward conversation. When I told him about the cancer, he went quiet for a long time and then just said, okay, thanks for letting me know. I asked him if he was going to come see him, and he said he'd think about it. He never came. During the next 11 months, I took care of my dad. I temporarily moved back to the house, took time off work, was there for all the medical appointments, for the chemo sessions that we eventually decided to stop because they weren't working and were just making him feel worse. I spent nights awake when he couldn't sleep from the pain, made him food when he could eat, helped him bathe when he couldn't do it himself anymore. They were the hardest months of my life, watching my dad, this man who had been so strong his whole life, deteriorate like that. Justin didn't show up once. My Aunt Angela told me she'd talked to him a couple of times, that Justin asked how Dad was doing, but never more than that. He never called directly, never came to visit, nothing. And my dad never asked about him, which was somehow worse because it meant he'd already accepted that Justin wasn't going to be there. My dad died at home, in his bed, one early morning in July. I was sitting next to him, holding his hand. His last words were for me. He told me he was proud of me, that I was a good son, to move forward with my life and be happy. And then, he was gone. He was 60 years old. The funeral was small. My dad didn't have much family, just some friends from work, neighbors, my Aunt Angela, and some cousins. I notified Justin about the funeral, sent him all the details, the date, time, place. He didn't respond, and he didn't show up. The day of the funeral, I kept looking for him, thinking maybe he'd arrive late, that maybe he'd be in the back, but nothing. We buried. My dad and Justin didn't even bother to show up to say goodbye. About 2 weeks after the funeral, we went to the will reading. My dad didn't have much. The house that was almost paid off, some savings, his truck, personal things, but he'd made a formal will with a lawyer about a year before he died. I knew it existed, but didn't know what it said. Turns out my dad left me practically everything. The lawyer explained to me that my dad had been very specific in his instructions. He'd written a letter explaining that I had been there for him, that I'd proven to be a loyal and loving son, and that's why he was leaving me his estate. About Justin, he only wrote that he hoped the $1,000 would help him start over, if he ever decided to change his life. When I heard that, I had to leave the office for a moment because I started crying. My dad, even after everything, even after Justin abandoned him, still held some hope for him. 3 weeks after the funeral, I got a message from Justin. We hadn't talked in years, literally years, and suddenly he writes me. It said, "Hi, Gabriel. I know things have been difficult. Sorry I wasn't there. I'd like for us to talk if possible. Can we meet?" It took me a few days to decide whether to respond. Part of me wanted to ignore him, block him, move on with my life. But another part, maybe the part that still remembered when we were kids and he was my big brother, wanted to hear what he had to say. I finally agreed to meet him at a neutral coffee shop. When I arrived, Justin was already there, sitting at a table in the back. He looked different, older obviously, a bit more worn out maybe. He had dark circles under his eyes, had gained weight. We greeted each other awkwardly. Neither of us knew whether to shake hands or what. We sat down, and for the first few minutes, the conversation was superficial. How are you? What have you been doing? That kind of thing. Then Justin cut the bullshit and went straight to the point. He told me he'd heard about the will, that he knew Dad had left me everything, and that he felt that wasn't fair. He said he understood things had been bad between us, that what happened years ago was a mistake, but that at the end of the day he was also Dad's son and deserved his share of the inheritance. I just stared at him, unable to believe what I was hearing. Really? Was he really telling me this? I asked him where he'd been the last 11 months while Dad was dying. Where he'd been when Dad needed help going to the bathroom because he was so weak he couldn't walk alone. Where he'd been at the funeral. Justin got defensive, said it had been hard for him, that he didn't know how to handle the situation, that seeing Dad like that would have hurt him too much. I told him it hurt me too, that it hurt me every fucking day, but that I was there anyway because that's what you do for people you love. Justin changed tactics, started with the whole "we're brothers" thing, that family is important, that Dad would have wanted us to get along. And I couldn't help but laugh, literally laugh in his face. I told him, now family is important? Now you remember we're brothers? Where was that energy when you were fucking my girlfriend in my bed? Where was it when Dad asked you to leave and you never looked back? The conversation got ugly. We started talking louder. People in the coffee shop were looking at us. Justin finally admitted he needed money, that things weren't going well for him financially, that he'd thought Dad would leave him something more, and now he was in a tough situation. Basically, he was there asking for money. That was it. He wasn't there because he felt real remorse. He wasn't there because he wanted to fix our relationship. He was there because he wanted his share of what Dad left me. I told him no. That Dad made his decision and I was going to respect that decision. That if Justin wanted money, he should get a better job, do what the rest of us do. He got angry. Told me I was selfish, that Dad had always spoiled me, that I was the favorite son, and maybe he was right about that. Maybe Dad did prefer me. But not because I was inherently a better person, but because I was there. Because I didn't leave when things got tough. Because I didn't betray my family. Justin got up, threw his almost full coffee, saying this was a mistake, that he should have known I'd be like this. He told me I was going to regret it, that someday I'd need family and wouldn't have anyone. And he left. I haven't seen him since that day. My Aunt Angela called me about a week later. She told me she'd talked to Justin, that he'd told her everything, and that she thought I should reconsider. That yes, Justin had made mistakes, but he was my brother, and family forgives. I told her respectfully no, that there are things that can't be forgiven, that there are lines that once you cross them you can't go back. She insisted, said Dad would have wanted us to reconcile, but I wasn't so sure about that. Dad had 11 years to change his mind about Justin. 11 years where he could have sought to reconcile with him, and he didn't. That told me everything I needed to know about what Dad really thought. Justin sent me another message. About a month later, this time, he directly asked me for a loan, said he only needed like $20,000 to get out of some problems, and that he'd pay me back when he could. I didn't respond. Then he sent another message saying, please consider it, that he was desperate. Didn't respond to that either. Eventually, he stopped sending messages. Now, I'm 31. I live in the house where I grew up, the house my dad left me. I remodeled it a bit, changed some things, but kept others the same, like his favorite chair in the living room, or the photos of the three of us when we were happy that are still on the wall. I work in real estate and I'm doing well. I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. I dated some people after Melissa, but nothing serious yet. I guess that experience left me with some trust issues I'm still working on. Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing, if I should have given Justin another chance, if I should have been more compassionate and more understanding. But then I remember, and the nights sitting by my dad's bed, I remember the empty funeral. I remember Justin's face in that coffee shop when he basically told me he only cared about the money, and I know I made the right decision. Loyalty means something to me, just like it meant something to my dad. And Justin showed over and over that to him, it meant nothing. My Aunt Angela still talks to me from time to time about Justin, tells me he's going through hard times, that maybe I'll regret someday not helping him. And maybe she's right. Maybe someday I'll regret it. But for now, I'm at peace with my decision. I've learned that you can miss the idea of having a brother without missing the actual person. That family isn't just blood, it's also respect, loyalty, being there when it matters. Justin stopped being my brother a long time ago. That day he decided his momentary satisfaction was worth more than years of trust and brotherly love. Life goes on. I work, hang out with friends. I'm thinking about adopting a dog. The house doesn't feel as empty as it did at first. And although sometimes I feel lonely, especially on important dates like my dad's birthday or the anniversary of his death, I know I'm better off alone than surrounded by people I can't trust. My dad taught me that, with his actions and his decisions. He taught me it's okay to set boundaries, that it's okay to walk away from people who hurt you, even if those people are family. I don't know what Justin is doing now. Probably still struggling with money, still blaming others for his problems. Part of me, a very small part, hopes that someday he understands what he lost, that he understands that actions have consequences, that trust once broken is almost impossible to repair. But I'm not waiting for an apology or looking for reconciliation. That door is closed. And honestly, I think it's better that way. Some things just can't be fixed, and it's okay to accept that and move forward.